The new generation would have to wait its turn. She continued to rely instead on the man who'd served her since the start of her reign, whom she trusted above all others, Robert Cecil's father, Lord Burleigh.
I do entreat heaven daily for your longer life. Else will my people and myself stand in need of cordial too. You are in all things to me, Alpha and Omega.
She wouldn't let him retire, even when he was in his late 70s, gouty, deaf, and visibly shrunk with age. But in the summer of 1598, Burleigh fell dangerously ill. Elizabeth sent him medicines, letters, and on one occasion she even fed him soup with a spoon with her own hand. To no avail. In September 1598, Burleigh died. For 40 years, Burleigh had carried the heavy administrative burden of running the day-to-day government of England. It wasn't as risky as the essentially noble role of the Queen's military lieutenant, which had been fulfilled by Burleigh's old sparring partner, the Earl of Leicester, but nor was it as prestigious, which is why, in death, the bureaucrat Burleigh wears the furred robes and the gilded armour that symbolise the role of the nobleman, a role that he'd shunned in life.
I have this vision of Elizabeth coming to visit him when he was dying. There's this old woman stamping along the passage with her wig askew, with her pockmarked face disguised with horrendous white lead makeup, huge diamonds, bad-tempered and upset, and getting to his bedroom, and there's this poor old man, breathing very heavily, hardly conscious. She must have been torn between the agony of losing a good advisor and the agony of losing a very close friend. It's like losing one's parents, however old one is. It's still the most ghastly shock. And for her, he was the closest thing to a parent. He'd kept a guiding, wise hand on her shoulder all the way through her rather tempestuous youth and middle age. And suddenly that guiding hand was being removed. And, she must have been very bereft.
In 1596, England once again faced the threat of invasion. Spain remained the most powerful country in Europe, and King Philip was still determined to destroy Elizabeth and her island nation. In March, his army had captured Calais. Now he had troops within 20 miles of England, and a great fleet was gathering at Cadiz in Spain to transport them. Confronted with this new danger, Elizabethan England galvanised itself into action. The Queen set aside her doubts about military action and her courtiers their divisions, and it was decided to send an expedition to Cadiz to destroy the new armada in port before it had even set sail. The strategist and commander of the expedition was the Earl of Essex, but the man who financed it and organised it was Robert Cecil. Essex had finally got the military command he craved. And, on the day he put to sea, Robert Cecil was at last confirmed as Elizabeth's chief secretary. The new generation had arrived. In the early hours of Sunday, the 20th of June, 120 English and Dutch ships attacked Cadiz. The Spanish were taken off guard. Their invasion fleet was destroyed. The town was captured and plundered for booty. Spain had again been humbled. England and Essex had triumphed.
You have made me famous, dreadful and renowned, not more for your victory than for your courage. I care not so much for being queen, as that I am sovereign of such subjects.
Essex was now a popular hero, and the burning of Cadiz was built up into something to rival the defeat of the Spanish Armada itself. But the Armada only had a single heroine, Elizabeth. Cadiz, though, was Essex's victory. And at the service of Thanksgiving in St. Paul's Cathedral, the congregation burst into spontaneous applause when the preacher sang Essex's praises to the skies. For Elizabeth, it was a novel and disturbing development. Her previous favourite, Leicester, Essex's stepfather, had actually been hated. Now a man whom she had created was her rival in popular affection. But popularity was the basis of Elizabeth's monarchy. It could not be shared with a subject. As a first step, all further popular celebrations of Cadiz were banned. But London continued to glorify their new hero. Some preachers even compared him to Julius Caesar, the greatest of the Romans. The city that had adored the Queen since the beginning of her reign had found a new idol. A wiser man than Essex would have mollified the Queen by keeping a low profile. But Essex was not wise, and ambition and vanity got the better of him. He commissioned an engraving of himself in the style of a Roman emperor. A direct challenge to the Queen's royal authority. He threw his weight around at court, objecting whenever Elizabeth honoured another courtier. And when the Queen turned down his plea to launch another attack on Spain, he courted public support behind her back. Elizabeth was furious. The conflict came to a head when Essex and Elizabeth disagreed about who was to be Lord Deputy of Ireland. The Queen contemptuously dismissed the Earl's arguments. The Earl turned his back on the Queen, and the Queen, irritated, boxed the Earl's ears. At this point, the Earl half drew his sword on the Queen. Now, to strike somebody within the precincts of the court was punished by the amputation of the right hand. To strike the Queen was treason. But before the unthinkable could happen, the Lord Admiral interposed himself between Essex and the Queen. The Earl then withdrew to his country house, whilst Elizabeth was left to ponder the monster that she created.